The Sahitya Academy presents awards from the year 1955 for 24 for literature written in 24 languages. And as beautifully worded by our present CM, Mr. M.K. Stalin, Ambai, whose original name is Dr. C.S. Lakshmi, was the fourth women writer in Tamil to be awarded with Sahitya Academy. And we are very proud that she has got this. Though she has started writing half a century ago, her writings, her views are still relevant in the modern world. In the year 1973, Rajam Krishnan, another great writer, got the award, Sahitya Academy Award. And in the year 1984, a very popular writer, Dr. Lakshmi Triburasundari, who wrote Dr. Triburasundari, who wrote under the pseudonym Lakshmi, got the Sahitya Academy Award. And 2005, Dr. Tilakavati got it. Very proud that Ambai got this prestigious award. I had the chance to read her Andi Malai. Actually, it was written in 1960s, 66, 76, and I was quite impressed by the character Bhavani, because in all her writings she presents a beautiful perspective of the feminine or the women. Because as we see, that was half a century ago, she had a very forward thinking, and she's not very rebellious or very rationalizing in her feminist point of view, but she presented definitely a solution to the problems of women. For example, she was talking about women voicing their problems, presenting their problems, and by voicing, she made women discover their own voice. Women were not allowed to voice, and they were caught troubled by the dichotomy between speech and language, word and power, and speech and listening. In such a world, she presents Bhavani in Andi Malai, that is Twilight Evening, a very wonderful character. I was quite impressed by the character in the sense because she's a college going girl, 1970s, and at that time when she has got only one brother. After her college life, they are preparing for her marriage. They thought it is a regular thing, regular feature, and they were parents were thinking that she'll get married, and they were quite ready for everything. But this girl says, no, I don't have an idea of getting married. She's very strong in her idea, and in her point of view, she says, no, I want to do service for the society. I want to do something for the society. That is strong, very strong in her mind. Not only her parents, of course, person loves her, and she says friendship is greater than love. She proves it. She talks with him, and of course, as a friend, just really wondering in the present scenario in the IT field and advancement, we see in some places real good friendship between boys and girls. And but in 1960s, she picturizes a girl, of course, who has finished her college, being very friendly with a man, and she is very, very clear about her ideas. She says, I have only friendship, I don't want to get married. And somehow they arrange for his marriage, and he marries Padmavati, and he gets two girls, daughters. But the friendship continues, and she goes to an orphanage like Shanti Nilayam, and though she didn't want to marry, that motherhood concept of which is very, very central to Indian society and Indian culture. Though she has given up marriage, she's very, very happy, of course very proud, when children, the orphans, call her Amma. She feels it so intensely. And by the end of the novel, the friend dies, and his wife with the two kids, the daughters, comes to this orphanage to live there. She has got no other way for livelihood, and she comes here, and this great Bhavani accepts that. And whenever a child is adopted by somebody and goes off, she cries like a real mother being separated from such children, like Nalini and other people. So she's so attached, devoted, like Mother Teresa. So here, like Rabindranath Tagore, who talks about a home and the world, Ambai also says women can do great service to the world without getting any blemish in their character. If they are sincere and devoted, don't think a woman is meant only for family, to get to rear up children and things like that. They can do great service to the society. So this Bhavani is like a twilight. She comes like a twilight. There is darkness in the society, in the concept of man, in the patriarchal society, that women are meant only for this. But she breaks it, but not as a rebel, but as a silent breaker, like breaking the ice. She just opens a new vista for the society as such, not for an individual as such, but to the society, so that women can discover that they have their own voice. They can hear their own voice. So this is a beautiful novel, and I was really wondering, in those days, that is in the 1960s, when she was in her teens, she had this vision, she had this concept that women, there must be a change, should not be like slaves, not living. She brings in all the concepts of women enslavement, entrapment, and not only stops with that. That is the greatness of Ambai. Not only stops with women being, talking about women being entrapped or women being enslaved, live like a slave, but the efforts the women take, the efforts that women take to change their life, yes, like Bhavani, and very beautifully she just admire. And in a short story, of course, short story entitled Siradigal Muriyum, wings may be broken. She talks about, she of course brings in the conflict, marital conflict that exists in the society. Some people let it out, but 99.9% women do not let it out. They just silently suffer, undergo that suffering. And here is a character like she also talks about girls being very free, happy, till their till they attain puberty. Happy only some till 10 years or 12 years. She talks about that problem also in another short story, where the girl painfully feels like a man being the head of a man being broken by a stone. I feel such a pain when blood comes. So pathetic. And when she tells her mother about this, the mother says, don't think this is the end of your problems. This is only one side. There is another big problem for us, the father and the mother, that we have to find a groom for you because you are dark skinned. That is a very great wound, not only to the girl but also to the parents. They have to find a groom. That is a great thing. Girls must be fair, beautiful, like that. They have concepts, their own concepts. So in such a society, it's a great thing for a parent to, or for parents to find a groom for their daughters. So she picturizes that also. And then this particular story about a husband and wife marital disharmony, it's that from the beginning. It's because, not because of anything else, because of the patriarchal domination, male domination. First of all, there is no thought of a woman giving up everything from her birthplace, her parents, first of all, second her friends, all her school friends, college friends, everybody. She gives up everything and comes after a man is to live solely for him and his family. This is not taken into consideration at all. This is taken for granted. That is the thing. And she has to tackle that man also, and all the time compromise, nothing else. She cannot voice her opinion. Well, whenever she says something, it's taken to be impertinence. It's not accepted. And this this short story, Siragugal Muriyum, it's about Chaya and Bhaskar. Bhaskar is a very, very stingy man, very egoistic, and he takes all the decision, of course, like many other husbands. And he sees his wife Chaya stitching for his sister's children. And seeing this, he thinks, why should she waste money on thread stitching for others without taking any money for that? So he says, don't do this. Don't do free stitching for anybody. So you have to become a paid tailor. So she accepts. She agrees. She cannot no other way. She cannot say no to any of his suggestions, orders, of course. And this second thing is, she wants to go for a function, and she says, we'll get a gift present for them. And this man says, no, we are not buying a gift. She's so worried. Why he is so stingy? We have to give a present when we go for a function. But he refuses to listen to her. And third thing is, when her sister is, they come for a bride viewing of her sister, younger sister. She says, my mother has asked me to come. Let's go. And he says, heartless. Words come showing his heartlessness. He says, 1,000 times men may come to see your sister. Why should we waste our money and time to go and see them? How careless and how hurting the words are. Yes, a girl will not expect 1,000 men to come and view her. This is not anything else, isn't it? So she's so worried. Why he talks like this? 10 long years I have suffered like this. And he made me do stitching. He made me a paid tailor, and because I am doing tailoring, he cut off the money that he used to give for housekeeping. And second thing is, whenever I ask him for any present or any gift or any other function that we have to go, he says, take your money. Why do I have such a lot of money? I am doing only tailoring. And he is not able to understand, visualize that. He thinks that I am minting money. But so 10 long years I have suffered, only suffering. She decides, at last she decides, why should this pull and stitching go on? I don't want this. I want to leave this man. She takes a decision to leave him. Finally, she takes a decision. But at that time, she comes to know that she's pregnant. So this is another concept in Indian society, that motherhood. Motherhood is the central thing, as I said earlier, in the Indian society. So she cannot leave her husband. So Siragigal Muriyum. She tries to have feathers to fly off, but it's all broken. She cannot. She cannot, though she has got a concept, she has got the courage to live and live independently. She cannot, because of the child. When she understands that she's pregnant, she decides to live with her husband. So this is very beautiful. That is focusing on the problem, to create an awareness. That is what is required in a society that is in the half a century ago. Yes, that is the greatness of the writer Ambai. And when we talk about motherhood, very beautifully she picturizes motherhood, like as a mother, how women are ready to do anything. Like in the story Yellow Fish, very beautifully she brings in a mother who has lost her daughter, and she feels very guilty that she has done something to save her daughter. But of course she has done everything like that, but it is that feel that is in the mother, that she could have done something to save her daughter. She has done, of course, but since she has lost, the loss was very great. She couldn't accept that loss, and she feels very guilty that she could have saved her daughter. She cries day and night silently, and one day she comes to the sea and she sees an yellow fish which is in the sea, on the sand, and it just opens its mouth and closes and finds difficult to breathe. She wants to take that fish and throw it into the sea, but she couldn't do that. And she starts thinking, I couldn't help my daughter, I couldn't help this fish also. What can I do? I want to save this fish. So she calls him immediately, a fisherman boy, and asks this boy to take the fish and throw it into the sea. And she helps. She feels very satisfied for the first time that she has saved at least the life of a fish, though she couldn't. In short story Wrestling, she deals with the theme of failed marriage. Shanmugam and Shanbagam are the couple, and here she is a talented musician who is denied to give a performance in the guise of love. So the wrestling is going on between the husband and the wife. This continues, no end to it. Yes, and of course the winners are men, and now I think it's there is a little change where women also succeed when in the wrestling. Yes, but the wrestling is still going on, and the very famous story is the title itself is very catchy. Kitchen at the corner of the house. There she talks about the physical appearance of the kitchen itself. It is the backyard, and no proper lighting, and flooded water on the floor. Is another devout short story is Kitchen at the Corner of the House. Very beautifully she picturizes the concept of entrapping women in kitchen. And the worst part of it is the patriarchy has made women believe that it is her empire, her kingdom. And she brings in a very, very rationalist character Meenakshi, who tells her mother-in-law that we have to change a lot. A woman should not think only about kitchen and the jewels to deck with. If they get away from these entrapments, certainly women can feel free and independent. A beautiful concept, and she gives the physical structure of the difficulties in the kitchen, like poor lighting, the flooded floor, and the clothes line is there in the kitchen. So every way, in every possible way, a woman's movement is restricted. She's not able to do things freely because of poor lighting and no tap at all. They are not willing to spend money on these things. They have to manage, the women have to manage with all these disabilities in the kitchen, like a flooded floor and clothes line. Clothes are hanging and they have to move the freedom in movement and space is restricted. Free movement is restricted. So very beautifully she brings in this concept, and as I said earlier, women feel very happy that about their kitchen. They do not know that it is their prison. Rather they think that it is their empire. And when we discuss widowhood, we deal in detail with the character of the mother-in-law. But here, when the mother-in-law, when she becomes a widow, her movement is restricted, her food is restricted, she is not allowed to mingle with her own family, and all sort of things. And at that time, Meenakshi tells her that don't think that this kitchen is our empire, because after the death of the father-in-law, you have become nothing in this house. Remember that. And through Meenakshi, Ambai tells the women folk that you don't take pride in being kitchen being your place. This concept is very, very important even in the present scenario. And she beautifully, that because always of course it's a little bit changing, the concept is little bit changing. Now we see some young boys and young husbands helping their wives and sharing the household chores, but it's not that much happy, that does not bring that much happiness, because the scenario has not completely changed, or not even half the percentage changed, very little, but change is there. That brings hope, because of literature and awareness, and because boys themselves see them working women, and they started thinking that they can share the work with their wives, but with their better halves. Ambai also portrays this with the women being restricted to kitchen, even when they go out for a picnic. Very beautifully she picturizes. They all plan to go for a picnic to a lake, nearby lake, and at that time too, what happens? They are not the women. They have to prepare the food for the whole family. All sit hours together in the kitchen, toil like anything, in sweat and dirt, and prepare the whole food for the whole day. And even when they go for a picnic, they cannot enjoy. There also they have to spread out everything, arrange, distribute, they have to serve, they have to clean the utensils, arrange everything, and finally even for children, to take the children to the restroom one after another. So all the time they have to work. When will they get free time? Yes, That is why Ambai uses the term women are treated as unpaid servants. It happens even now. Women are treated as unpaid servants. She creates this awareness, and she brings in the concept that women should not slog, should not toil like this. They should be able to share the work with other members, even male members of the family. This she makes Meenakshi, her the daughter-in-law, to talk freely, saying that we should not think that this is our empire. All the time talking about jam, juice, how to prepare this, that, how to work, how to grind, or when to grind, when to do this, when to wash clothes. So why do you go on talking about these things? Why not you widen your horizon? If you stop talking about this all the time, Meenakshi very beautifully, I would like to quote from the text. She says that why all the time obsessed with kitchen, about kitchen work, either with kitchen or with kitchen work. And very beautifully she says, if at all women they come out of these things, they could have done such a lot of things. She says, you could have found a new continent. You could have found a new continent. You could have written a new epic which are done atop of what Kalidasa has written. And you can have, that is, you think supremacy is there in the kitchen. It's not like that. You can become great adventurers. You think that you have full authority at home. It's not authority at all. Ambai says that this is only phony authority. It's not real authority. It is mere imagination. And here he says women are really ignorant of the real power and identity. They always think that they are bound to kitchen and home. She creates this awareness. Don't be like this. If you come out of that, she brings in an awareness that you can understand the real meaning of emancipation and freedom. And I would like to quote. She says that if only you could have avoided the kitchen, or talking all the time about the kitchen, you could have discovered new continents, written epics, setting atop the Kalidasa, and painted on the walls of the canvas, created a world without wars, poisons, gallows, and chemical weapons. So women could have brought a great change in the world. Yes, with their capacity. They have real power which is constrained to the kitchen, and they themselves glorify themselves as little angels in the kitchen. Like Coventry Patmore, who talks about the role of woman, good woman, should be always pleasing, very humble, decorated, serving all the time everyone with a smile. All these things he calls angel in the house, calls the lady or the mother as the angel in the house. And here Ambai is asking, what is to be a good woman in the world? When will the others consider you as a good woman? When you are, that is, this good woman concept is pre-planned and also something defined. They say what does it mean by a good woman? Yes, and they say that by drawing a column, that is keeping and cooling and doing all the household works, chores, and being a good woman, you can define yourself to be an ideal woman. Only if you do all the household chores, serving everybody with a smile, you will be considered as an ideal woman. And here this concept of a good woman is questioned by the characters. How can you say that? How can you say that only if I do all the work with a smile, and that too with a smile, without complaining, without grumbling, she will be called an ideal woman? And half a century ago, nearly 60, 70 years ago, she has written this. That is the greatness of Ambai, which we have to celebrate. This is a day of celebration for all women, not only for the great writer Ambai for winning Sahitya Akademi, but also for all women. And here, Meenakshi says that you have to free yourselves and discover your strength. You must understand what is emancipation and freedom, and you have to free yourself to understand your real strength. So Ambai advocates the integrating of body with mind. Body with mind. She also says that they give importance to certain parts of women's features, and this creates a problem, and they expect women to be very submissive, and but Ambai says, I will not create such characters who are little angels. I don't want that. I want to bring about a real change to reveal the real power and strength of women. So she is against passive feminism, and she says it no longer exists, and we see a new woman emerging in all her works, even in short stories. That is the greatness of Ambai. Even in short stories like this kitchen at the corner of the house, she is able to bring in the emergence of a new woman. That is the greatness of Ambai. And next story is really very interesting, entitled Forest. She is rewriting a great epic Ramayana, especially the character and the role played by Sita. We all know that Sita is celebrated as an embodiment of chastity of women, and she becomes a victim of feminine subjectivity. We know the story of the Ramayana, how Sita was sent to the forest. And here in the story we have a very interesting character like Chentiru. Her name itself is different. Chentiru, Chentiru. Chentiru, she says she wants to go to the forest to rewrite the story of Sita, to understand the life of Sita. And her husband says, how can you go to the forest at middle age? In ancient times only men go to forest. And Chentiru says, I am going to rewrite the epic. So I am going to change that. And Chentiru goes to the forest, and in the story Sita meets Valmiki, and Sita tells Valmiki, I am going to rewrite your story. Rewrite what you have already written. And this Sita story, of course, Sita lives in the forest, and when called to walk on the fire to prove her virginity, she refuses to go and meet Rama. In this story, she refuses to go, and after some years she meets Ravana in the forest playing Veena. Ravana is at his 40s and he is playing Veena. The great thing is he teaches Sita Rudra Veena, to play on Rudra Veena, and this shows that there comes a change in the concept of the epic, recreating the myth, yes? And body is the prison. Ravana also teaches Sita that body is the prison, and shows the path to attain fulfillment and contentment through music, through spiritual music of the veena. So very beautifully she recreates the myth, and she sows the weed of consciousness in the mind of women, that you need not you need not prove your virginity, or you need not think that you have to do this or that at the command of the husband. She refuses to go to meet Lord Rama, and finally this Chantru also says that I am going to rewrite the myth. So I am bold enough to go to the forest in the middle age, at my middle age. So this is also a very, very every piece of work conveys a message. It does not have the word message within quote, but it conveys something, a greater message to women folk. That is the greatness of Ambai, which I admire very much in the writer. She brings in all the venomous things associated with widowhood, especially in the short story Kitchen in the Kitchen at the Corner of the House. The mother-in-law Babaji, Gigi, she becomes a widow, and they refuse to give meat. She alone becomes a vegetarian at home. All cook all types of mutton, pulao and all other things, eat, but refuse to give her even a little bit. She is supposed to eat only potatoes, and what happens, she gets gastric problems and belching all the time. She is taking revenge on the whole family. At night she is belching and all the time running to the toilet, making noise, shouting and doing this, that. This is a sort of revenge that is taken by the thing. But they do not have the same norms or same rituals for a widow. Yeah. Yes, this is that. We may think we do not have such cruelties experienced at present, that is shaven head or white saree or without bindi. Now we feel a little women, widows being left free to some extent, of course, but still we have to remember that widows are considered inauspicious. They are considered to be unwelcome and self-deprecating. This is more. This is more of. They get more of that. The life becomes more hazardous and painful and humiliating than that of a widower. This is nobody can say no to this, even in the present scenario, especially in functions and all rituals. Women, especially widows, are not allowed to participate. Either they are not allowed to participate, or they with the self-abdication, they themselves do not participate in that, because it is unwelcome, considered to be unwelcome. Nobody will respect them, so they do not. But here Ambai, she says that Meenakshi, through the daughter-in-law, she says that self-confidence must be there in women, and with great potentiality, they should be able to free the whole world. That is what she does. Ambai does with the character of Meenakshi, trying to free the mind of the world. Yes, should not be like this. Women are equally, widows are also human beings. Yes, it is not their fault or the fault of anybody. It's natural. We have to accept everything, this as everything. And very beautifully she brings in the change. I will narrate one more story in this part 1 because of many stories. I would like to analyze many of her stories. I thought I can give in part 2 some of the other stories, and I will end with this deer in the forest. Here she is talking about the female body. Yes, how people give importance only to certain parts, and here this concept of women must get to the cycle of menstruation. There she brings in the central character Tangam. This lady is considered abnormal. This happens because she never menstruate. She never menstruates. What happens? Everybody, not only that, to get her menstruation, she is tortured to attain normalcy. She has to undergo many hardships and physical, mental, and psychological tortures. They want her by some means or other that she must get that. Only then she will attain normalcy. Here I would like to quote, that is, what sort of horrible things are practiced in the society which we do not even know or which we are not aware of. Very beautifully, that is, even women are not aware of these things. Even practiced in many places. She says that they will make something dark when she goes to the backyards. They will make something dark fall on her. The sudden threat may bring it, or they will make her walk alone and they will beat her, something like that. All horrible tortures forced on her to see that she gets her menstruation. But Tangam, very beautiful, Ambai's touch is here. She says that in spite of all these tortures, this Tangam she's a real gold. As her name indicates, she's a real gold, and she's able to overcome all that things with her positivity. That is the greatness of Tangam, greatness of a woman. Of course, she is not a negative. She never takes anything negatively, and she takes in a positive thing. And finally, everybody realizes that she has got a positive touch in her, lively touch. Though they thought that something abnormal in her, they have started to realize that if she touches a fruit, you will get more juice. If she sows something, you will get more yield. Like that, they started believing in her greatness. The positive outlook in women is also required. When people do things, negative things, it's an essential thing for a woman to come out of her negativity, out of the negativity around her, and build a great positive empire within her and outside her. With that positivity, she can change the world around. Very beautifully, Ambai brings in this concept which is needed for every human being. That's very important. I think I can stop with this in part 1, and we can do much more stories in part 2. As far as Ambai is concerned, she's narrating the female experience with great clarity. Yes, with great clarity, and she brings in an awareness. She brings in a female narrator. In her stories, she brings in a female narrator, and the female narrator who is in search of her own voice, discovering her own voice. So she's able to bring in the female entrapment and efforts. That is very important. Not only portraying the entrapment, but also the efforts taken by women to come out of that entrapment. She is giving a possible solution, and how they develop the new ways. Women, she portrays women who develop new ways for using words, not like peacock repeating the words or restricting themselves or silencing themselves, but they are able to find new ways to use words. Beautifully she does that. And she focuses on search for identity. That's a very, very important point in Ambai. Search for identity. If a male searches for identity, he alienates himself from society and tries to find an identity for himself. But the female, especially in Ambai's females, they do not alienate themselves, but they mingle themselves with the family members and identifies themselves with the good things around them. So this is the greatness. That is they define themselves in relation to other members in the family or in the society. That is the greatness of a female writer. That is the greatness of our writer Ambai. Yes, and she also brings in the beautiful concept of the relationship between the mirror and the window. Mirror is a self-reflector, and by looking at the mirror, they just think of all they get their imagination, and also their it's like a receptor, what I am, and things like that. They contemplate on that self. So that is she's able to bring in what the difference between the role and the real definitions of the self. Role and real definitions of the self. So by looking at the window, they are able to see. That is, in the mirror, what one sees as a real, and through windows one wants to see. Yes, that is the role. I want to be like this. Yes, and very beautifully, future and imagination from the internal sources. She uses these two things, but internal, that is the essence of Indian spirituality. We should not wait for anything to come from outside. It should come from the internal source, and that is what Ambai has done. She has brought in self-realization of women, the characters who have attained self-realization, others to attain the state of realization. This is the solution to the problem of women that Ambai suggests, underlines in all her works. We will meet in part 2. Thank you all.